they leave the site in a condition that's optimal for us to construct the trail on top of it. So I think that may delay the actual construction a little bit for them to do their work first, but we're going to end up with two programs that disturb the landowner only once and end up with a better engineered result. So Philip, you want to talk? So that's everything about what we have done, what the plans are, where the money's coming for, what the status is. I think we wanted to end on, well, is it having any effect? Are people really using this thing? And I'm going to turn it back to Philip to talk about some really exciting numbers, especially in the last 6 months since COVID started.
Thanks, Chuck. Who uses the Vine Trail? We have done these intercept surveys out there over 3 years. About 70% are locals and 30% are visitors. We know that from the surveys we took. We did over 1,200 surveys out there at weekends. The user groups, this is a breakdown of the three counters. We have a counter at Tullikey Creek Bridge. We have a counter at, we call it Oak Knoll, which is just near Trower, and we have a counter up near Yountville. So we're collecting data from all those counters, and you can see cyclists versus pedestrians. It varies a little bit, but most of the pedestrian traffic we see down at Tullikey Bridge, and a kind of mix at Oak Knoll South, and then a lot of cyclists obviously around the Yountville area. We've been tracking those numbers since we installed the counters since 2017, and you can see there's been a growth every year with the users. Last year was 358,852. However, this year, because of COVID, we have a lot more people using the bike trail, and so this year we have we passed the 2019 numbers at the beginning of August. We're projecting that we're going to be over 500,000 users in this year. We're probably going to pass that number sometime late October, early November. Because these are automatic bike and ped counters that tell us the hour and the day when users go past, we have a competition on our website, if you're interested in doing it, to predict what day, what hour, and what month we will pass the $500,000, and the person closest to it will win a bag of swag from the Vine Trail. So we've got that competition going. But I think what it's demonstrating is, particularly during COVID, when people were not able to get out to their gyms and weren't able to do a lot of the exercise activities or family activities, the bike trail became a real savior for them. So we've had lots of positive comments on our Facebook. And again, we only operate this trail in cooperation of the city of Napa, the county, and the town of Yountville. But it's a great asset to the community, and I think those numbers demonstrate that it's been extremely good value for money. Touching on that, this is just kind of a breakdown. I wanted just to show what the use on the Vine Trail is, where we have the trail in place versus areas on 29 which have shoulders but don't have a trail. This data on the right-hand side here is data from Oakville. Just by the Oakville grade, we had our traffic engineer go out and count cyclists and pedestrians in that corridor for the same amount of days that you can see here on the left-hand side. And I compared the data with the trail counters out at the South Oak Knoll one and the North Oak Knoll one during the same period. And you can see that the number of cyclists using the corridor, if you provide them with that class 1 trail, you get a huge amount. I mean, it's only 12% compared to 12 and 14% of users if they're given even a wide shoulder. So we feel the bike trail is badly needed, and I think once it's developed, you'll see a lot more people using it as an alternative to Highway 29. Transportation benefits. What we've been able to determine is the trail provides an alternative between South Napa and Yountville. It's equivalent to about 4% a day of single occupancy vehicles in the corridor, if you take the traffic counts from Caltrans. We provide an alternative way for tourists to get around the valley, and hopefully those tourists are coming back. We provide an alternative for ways for employees to get around the valley. We've heard great testimonials from folks who work at the state hospital and at the college, that this is the preferred way they like to get to work. And we believe it is a fairly cost-effective way for providing an alternative transportation system. So we would be happy to take any questions. I know this is not a, this is just a presentation, but if anybody has a burning question for Chuck or myself, please feel free to ask it if that's all right with you, Kate.
Very much, Philip and Chuck, for your presentation. I think sometimes it's so easy to get caught up in cents and dollars, and we should. But I also think about, and you really humanize the trail when you talked about the users, how many people are on the trail. And one of the things that I think sometimes we don't think about is the safety element of what the trail represents. And I think creating a safe opportunity for people to recreate in Napa County is incredible. And it's a gift that's going to last multiple generations. So I appreciate the leadership on that. I appreciate tracking the usage. I think that's incredible to know that we're going to reach 500,000 people in Napa County. I'd like to know in Yountville how many times the mayor of Yountville was probably one of those users. I know he's an avid cyclist. But if you can go back to the screen so we can see everyone, Carrie, I'd like to, those that have been on the Vine Trail, if you can raise your hand. See, that's pretty special, right? I think that just goes to show you the value of this. So we are in the home stretch. Just one final comment. Chuck is right. There's a lot of attorneys involved in these easement agreements. And having been in those meetings with the too many attorneys in the room, we're close. But I also asked Chuck that we try to bring this home. I think we've been talking about it way too long. And the more that we talk about it, sometimes the more changes we have. So I think we got to bring this home and get it done. So thank you. So I do see significant questions here. Councilmember Joseph.
Yes. Well, first of all, I appreciate the presentation. I agree with you. The idea of 500,000 people using the trail is phenomenal. But I'm also impressed with the finances. And if I saw the chart correctly, at the future build out, it sounds like local jurisdictions using their gas taxes may be 5% of the total cost, that the Vine Trail grants and everything else is the other 95. That to me is pretty impressive. You don't always get an opportunity to put $1 down and have somebody match it with the other 19. And so I think Chuck and Philip and the whole coalition deserve a lot of credit. I know it's frustrating when we have to come up with our own resources, but when we put it in perspective, we're only putting up 5%, and between grants and the coalition, they're putting up the other 95. That's pretty impressive. So thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Joseph. Mayor Canning.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the presentation, Philip and Chuck. And Philip, thanks for recognizing us as always the crown of the valley. I just wanted to give you an update. Last night at our city council meeting, we approved the development agreement between the city of Calistoga and the Veranda at Indian Springs project, which is going to result in them building out 800 feet of new bike path, as well as the landing zone, if you will, or the starting point for the bike path on their property, which is going to include bike racks for parking, new bathroom facilities, and a gateway from Calistoga onto the bike path onto the Vine Trail. So we're all very excited about that.
Thank you, Mayor Canning. Mayor Dunbar.
Since the chair did call me out for actively cycling on the Vine Trail, I do want to applaud the maintenance that's been happening. I know we made a big deal about that in the very beginning in Yountville. And there was concern about the quality of maintenance as you go through jurisdictions. The many months I've been riding, especially the last couple of years, significant quality throughout the jurisdictions, from Yountville all the way down through Napa. And it's even more noticeable. Sorry to kind of call out our Sonoma County neighbors to the west, but the moment you get out of Napa County as a cyclist and get into Sonoma County, it is a significant difference in the quality of, granted, much of that is roadway and not dedicated trail, but coming back into Napa County and getting on the Vine Trail as a cyclist, you really appreciate the quality of and the safety that's involved in that trail. And I do want to commend the effort to keep it clear. It's very challenging when you have sections that are surrounded by trees that provide a beautiful aesthetic and a cooling with the shade, but it also makes a mess. And it can be a challenge to keep it safe for cyclists, for families with strollers, walkers. But very impressed with how it's been maintained, and want to say thank you for that ongoing effort, because we were concerned when you go from one jurisdiction to another, would there be a consistency in the quality? And so I look forward to that happening up Valley, and so we can really connect the entire Valley and have that be a safe and a very wonderful way to recreate. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Dunbar. Mayor Garcia.
Yes, thank you for the presentation. I was particularly interested in economic analysis of the benefits of having a bike trail, for the visitor use as well as local workforce and recreation. Particularly, as we are able to connect from Vallejo Ferry Terminal up to Napa, I think it would be quite a boon I would expect in visitors.
Thank you, Mayor Garcia. Mayor Ellsworth.
Thank you, and thank you very much for the presentation, and glad to hear that things are moving forward. Is there anything that we can do to assist in the final push, or just keep giving our support as you work it forward? Just a thought, if there's something that the mayors or the electeds on this board can be helpful with.
Thank you, Mayor Ellsworth. Chuck or Philip, any? I don't see any other questions or hands. Any final comments?
Yeah, so I would just say that you guys have been hugely supportive of all the mayors. I mean, you've been supportive of all the ATP grants that we put in. And for Mayor Ellsworth, I mean, we're coming to the end of this feasibility study that we did jointly with you. It's going to go to your ATSC committee tonight, then planning, and come back to the council. We would love to get that last little piece of the route nailed down to know what the plan is, so we can tee it up and get you guys to support the next grant that we'd like to go after to build that out. So, we've been very successful in ATP so far, three different grants. We're hopeful that we'll get this thing closed out with their support.
Very good.
All right, thank you. Do we have any members of the public that wish to comment on this item? I don't think we have any hands raised, and we have no public comment that was emailed to us. Thank you very much. And I will say CTC Commissioner Carl Galdino did reach out, and I invited him to the Vine Trail. So we'll be cycling with him so he can fully experience all the magic that's happening in Napa. So
Great.
that is good.
Let
This
us
was an
know when
information
it happens.
item.
Let us know when it happens, Chairman, and we will make sure we roll out the red carpet for him.
Yeah.
We were planning on inviting some of our board directors to join us. I know we have many cyclists on.
Uh-oh.
We're going to move on. Thank you, Philip, and thank you, Chuck, for your presentation. Very robust and informative. Moving on to our quarterly project updates, section 9. I'll turn it over to staff, and we have 9.1, 9.2, 9.3, 9.4, 9.5. These are just updates, so staff can cover them all. Go ahead.
I'll be sharing my screen. Just a Okay, good afternoon, Chair and board members. I'm Sanjay Mishra, the Program Manager Engineer for NVTA. I'm happy to present you with the updates on several active projects.
Go ahead, Sanjay.
Okay, first on the list is Soskal Junction project, as this is the #1 project for the region. Currently, we are progressing with the PSND design work, and we have completed 65% of design. And this design is being currently reviewed by Caltrans. And the response details are due sometime around this week. The current design actually also includes a fee spaces design, which is being reviewed by the permitting agency. And we are working with the permitting agency to get a final design on that fees passage, because they have raised some concerns with that. Soskal Junction construction funding. We are actually pursuing competitive grant funds for SB1 local LPP funds and solutions for congested corridor program. This project also right adjacent to Soskal Ferry and Devlin intersection, which may be improved by the developer because of the Napa pipe opening day conditions on them. The county of Napa currently working with a designer to actually come to a ultimate design for that intersection, and which will be in conjunction with our Soskal interchange design. Currently, we are scheduled for 95% completion of the PSND by mid-January 2021, 100% of the PSND by end of April, and if construction funding is available, we will be able to start construction in 2022. I would like to show you some of the visual elements the project team has worked on and some of the renderings produced for the Soskal Junction intersection. The design team actually looked at various existing buildings, architectural and landscape features around Soskal Junction interchange and developed proposed landscape and architectural details for this project. So what you see on your screen right now is a landscape design which has organic paving pattern, which is a mix of rock blanket and colored concrete. So there's a possible option for us to provide some boulders with optional uplighting. And there are some mounted curves for the roundabout on the central island. This shows the rendering for the structure, the bridge structure, where the top base of the bridge abutment is a large rustic stone pattern with a large rustic stone cap, and the upper portion of the bridge or the concrete structure is rough sandstone texture, smooth corners, and some intermediate columns. This shows the driver's view for from this is actually from SR 221 going towards west side of the structure, and the right hand side you can see the ramp goes to the SR 29 northbound direction, and this actually encompasses both the rustic stone architecture as well as the organic paving pattern for the landscape. Some of the traffic signs have not been rendered in this view. It is still a work in progress and just gives you an idea how it will look like when it is done. Caltrans is open to to add any features that if the board or any private party wishes to put in the roundabout here, but Caltrans or the county of Napa is not interested in actually maintaining that. So if there is any interest, then we can probably discuss further. This slide shows the proposed cost and the funding sources we would need to complete this project. As you can see, we require roughly about $27 million for future construction funds, and we expect to fulfill that from our SB1, local developers, and RM3 funds. Moving on to the next project, Vine Trail, which you heard from Chuck and Philip about this project. Just to briefly go through this, the CEQA for this project was adopted in August 2020. NEPA is expected to be completed by November this year. Design is 90% complete, and we are currently submitting the 100% design by tomorrow to Caltrans with our response and comments, addressing their comments. If everything goes smoothly, the final construction documents would be prepared by 2021. Cooperative agreements with Caltrans being completed and signed. Department of General Services actually has requested compensation for their time, which we did not anticipate earlier. Some other issues and concerns for this project: the realignment across the CAL FIRE property because of there is a auto body shop that got burned down, and CAL FIRE is expecting to redevelop that area. So we are actually working with CAL FIRE with their future improvements, and it is affecting our current alignment, which they had agreed to earlier. So we are in the process of executing a right-of-way agreement, right-of-way easement agreement, and we are also working with the PG&E and AT&T utility relocation, but that has also proved to be a little difficult as they are very busy with the recovery efforts due to the current fire, the LNU fire and the glass fire. Construction costs also has inflated, and PG&E gas line project also impacts our project, but we are working with them to resolve all the engineering issues right now. For the budget of Vine Trail Coalition, we are this shows how much funding we have received or we have from various grants, and depending on the construction bid, we will know how much funding shortfall we may have. Moving on to the next project, the bus maintenance facility. Our design for the bus maintenance facility is 100% complete and is under review by the county for final building permit. The board also probably knows that we acquired the adjacent land for future development, and currently we are in discussion with discussion for a TIFIA loan through FTA for this project. And once we know whether this loan is going to be approved in November, we would be able to bid this project out in December, January 2021, and the project could go out for construction by April 2021. One of the issues for this project is the water pipe by City of Napa. We are working with City of Napa to restart that project, as their project was on hold because of funding concerns they had. The bus maintenance facility budget, as you can see, if we obtain the loan, we are able to fulfill the requirements for this project. So SR29 CMCP and AMCAN project initiation document. As you know, previously we have provided this update. The public outreach meetings have been held for more than 30 participants participated in those meetings, and the final CMCP plan was approved by board in May 2020. We have applied for the solutions for congested corridor submitted in June 2020 for Susquehanna Junction project. Currently, we are proceeding with the American Canyon PID document, which will refine and get details of the project and provide the document. This document will be available by August 2021. Moving on to Imola Avenue Complete Streets Improvement. This is a 3.5-mile stretch corridor from 4th Avenue to Foster Road. We are working with Caltrans to prioritize the corridors for SHOP funding, which will come from their Complete Streets Reserve funds. And mostly we are focusing on the central segment, that is Jefferson to Saskell, which will have class 4 bike lanes, curb cuts, crossing improvements, and sidewalk gap closures between SR 29 and SR 221. This project would be exempt from CEQA until January 2023 under SB 288, which would significantly streamline the project delivery. Corridor improvements are estimated at about 16 million for all the 3 segments. So SR29 adaptive signal control is already been installed and it is turned on by Caltrans. It's for 5 intersections, that is from American Canyon Road to Napa Junction. Caltrans will be providing an update once they have a comparison from the previous before and after report. Caltrans is monitoring the traffic condition and will be evaluating the performance soon. NVTA, Caltrans, and City of American Canyon currently discussing installation of the TSP on this corridor. The current adaptive signal control is possible and is able to accept the TSP and the cadence system, and they would require NVTA to procure the TSP equipment. And once we are agreeable and City of American Canyon and Caltrans are comfortable with the details, we would like to proceed with the TSP. I will hand over this portion of the presentation to Alberto. Are you there?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here, Sanjay. Good afternoon, board members. I'm Alberto Esqueda, Senior Planner here at NVTA and Project Manager for the Imola Park and Ride Improvement Project. This project is located in the city of Napa at the interchange of SR 29 and Imola Avenue. The project will reduce express bus times by adding bus stops to the on and off ramps for quicker boardings and lightings of passengers. We will build a sidewalk and bike facilities to connect the bus stops to the park and ride, which will also be updated and resurfaced. Sanjay and I have been working closely with Caltrans for roughly around 18 months, and we are now in the final stages of the design phase. Last week we received comments on 100% design plans, and we are currently addressing. The environmental clearance has been secured, and we anticipate bidding the project in December of this year, awarding the contract in February, and that would lead to construction in April of 2021. Next slide, please. So before you is the project budget. The project is completely funded and all funds have been secured. This is an exemplary project that provides multiple benefits to transit users, pedestrians, cyclists, and the surrounding neighborhood. Proof of that is that this project was able to receive multiple funding sources. We managed to acquire 7 of them. In the last few months, staff secured 300,000 of the sub-HIP funding and over $1 million in LC top competitive funds. So NVTA staff has done a great job at compiling these 7 funding sources to complete the funding package and build that project.
Okay, thank you, Alberto. So SR 37 corridor. As you know, the SR 37 corridor has 3 segments. Currently, the work in portion of segment A and segment B is being evaluated, and engineering team is looking at the traffic congestion relief portion of this project. These are the interim project for congestion relief. The options that is being currently evaluated is the contraflow with the movable median barriers, which seems it may be ruled out, but the engineering team is preparing documents to provide the details. The other options are currently being evaluated is a 4-lane highway, which may require bike access. In the recent discussions, the bike access is also proving to be very difficult because of the available shoulder width. And there are discussions currently ongoing to widen the Tole Creek Bridge at the near the section segment A and segment B area to provide bike access, maybe only for a portion, but these are all still being discussed with the engineering team. This slide provides the ultimate sea level rise adaptation project overview, and this is there are few options, the reconstruction options with an embankment or a raised structure or a separated structure is being evaluated. These projects will be delivered in 15 to 20 years of time, but the congestion relief project is expected to be delivered in about 7 to 10 years time. That concludes my presentation. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Sanjay and Alberto. Very, very well done. Very informative. So thank you very much for that. Give me a second while we transition to the panel where I can see if anyone has any questions. All right. We don't have any questions from any board members. Do we have any members of the public that wish to address staff on this item? We don't, and these were just updates. So I thank you very much for the updates, Sanjay and Alberto. We're going to move on to our consent items. We have 10.1 to 10.4. If we have no questions and we see no members of the public wish to have any items pulled, I will entertain a motion for approval.
So moved.
Second, Joseph.
Canning, I think. Joseph, second. Seeing no rebut, a roll call, please.
Leon Garcia. Leon?
Yes, thank you.
Mark Joseph.
Yes.
Chris Canning.
Yes, but just a correction, I believe that was Mayor Ellsworth that motioned.
Thank you.
was
I
not us.
wasn't sure if you jumped in too, Chris, so thank you.
Nope,
I
no
will
worries.
update that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Liz
And that's a
Alicio.
yes for me, sorry.
Aye. Jill Teckle.
Aye.
Alfredo Pedroza.
Aye.
Delia Ramos,
Yes.
Paul Doring,
Yes.
Jeff Ellsworth,
Yes.
Carrie Dorman,
Yes.
and John Dunbar.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next item. This is our regular items. This is an amendment to a project work order. I'm going to transition to Vice Chair Liz, leave you in very capable hands. I apologize for my departure to an MTC duty. But with that, let's have staff discuss this item.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. This is Vice Chair Alessio here. So Chair Pedrosa has to run off, but staff will continue with this item. We're preparing for that.
Yes, thank you. This is Sanjay Mishra. I'm the program manager for NVTA. This item is presented to you under 11.1 is an action item requesting approval for one of the options presented in the staff report for amendment number 2 to the professional engineering services to complete environmental work and 100% design of the vine trail between Calistoga and St. Helena. RSA Plus was awarded the PSC contract in June 12, 2019 for a not to exceed amount of $1.4 million. As you know, the Calistoga to St. Helena segment project will construct a 7.4 mile class 1 bike and ped path within the public right of way from the intersection of Fairway and Lincoln Avenue in Calistoga to northern end of Pratt Avenue in St. Helena along State Route 29. Most of the path will be located in the public right of way and runs parallel to Highway 29.
Sanjay, I apologize. Sanjay, I apologize for asking to interrupting, but do you mind just holding for 1 second?
Okay.
Staff is working on getting your presentation back online.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sanjay, do you have a PowerPoint for this?
No, no PowerPoint. It's just the staff report.
Okay, thank you. I thought I saw a presentation. Please continue.
Okay. Most of the path will be located in the public right of way and runs parallel to Highway 29 on property belonging to the control by Caltrans and the state of California State Parks and CalFab, all of whom support this project. Portions of this trail will be built on easements provided by adjacent private agricultural property. Owners of this property are in the process of entering into an agreement with the County of Napa. Amendment 1, issued on July 7, 2020 to RSA to add environmental scope, which was not part of the original scope, and authorize reallocation of funds from available design funds to environmental tasks so that the project could move forward. Amendment 1 did not authorize any additional funds. Amendment 2 will authorize additional scope and add funds to the current PSC contract with RSA. RSA and its subcontractors will complete modifications and amendments to easements for Toomey Sellers, New Haven, Plainville, Krug, and other property owners, complete additional environmental work, including a finding of no adverse effect for 15 cultural resources along the trail alignment. Several design changes or alignment revisions and complete all the associated survey, plat, and legal work. Attachment 1 to this report details the added scope. To minimize the PS&E cost, NVTA staff have assisted and continue to assist with scope changes by completing tasks internally, such as environmental coordination, right of entry permit with State Park, design changes with CAL FIRE, public presentations, engineering support for appraisals, cost estimate, and various other tasks. Staff recommends that Napa NVTA board authorize the executive director or designee to execute and make minor modifications to amendment number 2 to project work order E13 attachment 1 to NVTS agreement number 1823 with RSA for professional engineering services to complete the environmental process, plan specification and estimation phase for the Napa Valley Vine Trail, Calistoga to St. Helena segment for added scope of an amount not to exceed $204,160. Out of that, $10,000 is in contingency. Alternatives. Board could decide not to approve the additional work and staff would proceed with a new RFP for completing the balance work, but this option will delay the project and the CTC allocation of $6.1 million for construction funding would be lost. So other time issues, as we previously showed in the presentation, that the project team is facing significant challenges because of the COVID issues. So Caltrans, our designers, our permitting agencies were not able to work, visit the site physically and send their response in a timely manner, which actually has delayed our process until now. Added to that, the fire that destroyed a Cal Fire auto shop, the glass fire that directly affected the properties in the Vine Trail alignment has also added to this time issues. Utility agencies such as PG&E and AT&T are very busy with the response to the recent fires for the recovery efforts, and coordination with them has taken a backseat for this project. So that concludes my report. If you have any questions, I would be happy to answer.
Thank you, Sanjay. Appreciate the report and also, sharing the challenges, the hurdles that are being impacted, that's impacting all of us, but in particular this project as we look at this. I'm looking at our board, see if we have any members who have any questions. I see that we have a question by Council Member Carey. Dorman, does she want to?
Yes. Thank you, Vice Chair, and thank you, Mr. Mishra. Speaking of the challenges, your previous report, you talked about, you had a bullet on the inflation of construction costs, and I believe you said we may face a funding shortfall. So I have a couple of questions and I'll ask them and then listen. One is the 6.1 that we're expecting, are we expecting it or is it committed to us, assuming we meet the deadline? And number two is, what plan, if any, do we have at this point for any funding shortfall that we may have for this project? Thanks.
Okay, so the $6.1 million is committed, meaning if we meet the deadline, we made all the requirements, 6.1 million will get it for construction. So there is no, we're not going to get anything less than that if we fulfill all the requirements. As far as funding shortfall, those are projected. For current PS&E work, we will have the funds. If this amendment 2 is approved, we will have the funds to complete the PS&E. But if the construction project comes, the bid comes at a higher than what we have estimated, so there could be a shortfall. So that is what I would say. In the attachment 2 of this report, I had prepared a brief spreadsheet to just show a future potential funding shortfall, but that is just a projection. Nothing is real at this time.
And my follow-up, thank you. Oh, excuse me, Vice Chair. My follow-up is, if we do have a shortfall, is staff already planning to fill that gap? Or is the Vine Trail planning to fill it? Or our jurisdictions?
we will be approaching jurisdiction and Vine Trail Coalition to for further funds to be compensated, to be contributed to this construction shortfall, or else we could look for any other grants or any other funding source. But we haven't identified anything else as of now.
Thank you. Very helpful.
Thank you.
Do we have any other members that would like to ask a question? I don't see any. Do we have anybody in public comment? Anybody in the public that would like to ask a question or emails? No? Okay, very good. Do we have a motion recommended by staff?
So moved by Canning.
Second
Thank
by
you,
Joseph.
Thank you very much, Mayor Cannon and Councilmember Joseph. And roll call, please.
Leon Garcia,
Yes.
Mark Joseph,
Yes.
Chris Canning,
Yes.
Liz Alicio,
Aye.
Jill Teckle,
Aye.
and Alfredo Pedroza has left the meeting. Belia Ramos,
Yes.
Paul Doring,
Yes.
Jeff Ellsworth, Jeff, can you hear me? Carrie Dorman
Looks like it's
Yes.
and John Dunbar.
Yes.
And Jeff, are you there? Okay, motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on swiftly to item 11.2, legislative update, and our director is going to lead the way. Thank
Great.
you.
Good afternoon again. I just wanted to point out that there were 4 bills on the bill matrix that the governor did take action on. One of them was AB 107, which will allow transit agencies to use state transit assistance, state transit assistance state of good repair funds for operations. Normally those are for capital projects. This is related to service reductions associated with the pandemic. AB 2730, Cervantes, states that the adjacent counties may either enter into an agreement to provide paratransit emergency evacuation services to vulnerable populations. NVTA currently has mutual aid agreements with all the Bay Area public transit providers, and they showed up via email in full as we were challenged by the fires this year. So it was a really great support of NVTA and our other North Bay partners. SB 288 Wiener, which Sanjay alluded to in his presentation, will exempt certain active transportation and transit projects from CEQA until 2023. Again, this is an initiative to accelerate projects and to encourage jobs. SB 1159, this extends the executive order N6220 and creates a rebuttable presumption that illness or death related to COVID-19 is an occupational injury and therefore eligible for workers' compensation benefits. The law takes effect immediately, and some elements are actually retroactive to May 2020, and it remains in effect until January 1st, 2023. On the federal side, there has been a lot of discussion about stimulus bills. The House passed the HEROES Act, which is the Health and Economic Recovery Omnibus Emergency Solutions Act, on October 2nd. On October 7th, President Trump, upon his first full day back in the White House after his release from Walter Reed, abruptly broke off talks with congressional Democrats, announcing that there would be no stimulus bill. But subsequent to that, he came back with a $1.8 trillion stimulus offer. The White House proposal would fund relief at $1.8 trillion, which is 1.6 trillion offer earlier. However, it remains below the 2.2 trillion by 2.2 million House Democrat bill. The House bill is a $3 trillion package, 1 trillion more than the Coronavirus Aid and Relief Security, or the CARES Act. The bill provides $1 trillion for state and local governments, funding for hospitals, frontline workers, and funding for individuals, which could be as much as $6,000 per family. The funding package also includes $15.75 billion for transit, of which $11.75 billion will be allocated to urbanized areas with 3 million in population. So that's just 12 urbanized areas, 13 urbanized areas total. And in the Bay Area, that it represents just one urbanized area, the San Francisco Oakland urbanized area. The remaining 4 billion included in the Act for Public Transit would be distributed to other areas. It's 14 regions. The other area is not in those 14 regions. So it's not as good of a bill for transit, but it is certainly something that is better than nothing and is sorely needed by both transit and the local jurisdictions. So that concludes my legislative report. I did want to mention, and I tried to do this last month, but we had technical problems. But Governor Newsom has appointed John Rocco Davis of Rockland to the CTC. Davis has been Vice President and Regional Manager of Labor's International Union of North America since 2001. He also appointed Leanne Eager, 64, of Fresno, to the California Transportation Commission. Eager has been President and Chief Executive Officer at the Fresno County Economic Development Corporation since 2009. And then the commission elected Hillary Norton to be the chair and Bob Alvarado to be the vice chair of the CTC. Ms. Norton was appointed by Governor Newsom in September 2019, has years of experience in transportation and community development. Mr. Alvarado has been serving off and on at the CTC since 2001 and has consecutively served since 2006. And he is the executive officer of the Northern California Carpenters Regional Council. And that concludes my report.
Thank you for the excellent report. Kate, do we have any members with questions? We're looking real quick to see if I see any hands. This is informational only. There's no action required.
No, there are not. And I just wanted to note that Member Ellsworth lost connection, but he is back on the meeting now.
Okay, thank you. And Mayor Canning had to depart also, but that was
Correct.
also prearranged, just so everybody
Correct.
else knows. Okay, thank you very much. Okay, since there's no action, we will move on. And so any items for future agenda? Seeing no hands? Yeah. Okay, very good. Then let's go ahead and go to closed session. It'll take just a couple minutes. We're going to reorganize here. And so we will be back with you in very soon.
And Chair and Commissioners, this is General Counsel Deanne Gillick. I'm here on standby, so if you would like me to participate, please have Kate or Carrie text me or let me get access to the closed session.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Hello?
Yeah, Commissioner Ellsworth, this is Deanne Gillick. The commission has met in closed session. So
How do I get to that link? Is it a different link?
Yeah, I don't have that information. So maybe if staff can let Carrie?
This is Alberto. I'll try to find out.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, I see the join the breakout room. I've got it right here. Thank you.
Great, thanks.